Oi, what's wrong there, Sean?
Having a writer's block. Can't seem to write anything for this Toy Story 2 review. I've got so much to say, yet my brain appears to be in an abyss of hopelessness.
So, how long have you been at it exactly?
6 months? Or a year? I don't know. I need sleep. Now, who the hell are you?
Hog's breath. At your service, Master Sean.
Right. Where are the other toys? That pirate guy trapped in the game case. Where is he?
Well, seeing as you took so long with writing, they're now on a little holiday.
Well, this is shit.
Where in Neptune's name are we anyway?
In the middle of fucking nowhere. Courtesy of Space Marine Captain Dipshit here.
The search campaign said that this was a great place to get burritos.
First of all, you searched on Bing. Secondly, why would there be a fucking burrito stand in the middle of the desert?
Clearly you have never been to Mexico.
Why did I agree to this? I'm a ghost pirate for scurry's sake. I don't need a vacation.
Cause that dumb bastard back home wasn't writing us into any scripts and kept us waiting with our thumbs up our plastic asses.
You got a point there, boyo.
Maybe I can fly us out of here.
You realize you're a fucking toy, right?
Huh. It's been so bloody quiet around here. Been so focused on this and streaming. Just haven't noticed. This makes no sense. Why can't I write something?
Seems to be a rather silly problem to have, if you ask me.
Yeah, but so is talking to inanimate objects, but that doesn't appear to be stopping anytime soon, now does it?
Well, just look at all the games you've got around here. You must have decades of gaming history here. Going back from now to maybe the 70s, I'm sure. You're telling me you don't have a single thing to write about?
You know, you're right. I'm surrounded by games so much, I just don't stop to appreciate that every so often.
I remember when you first got that NES of yours. I reckon that was probably the first time you started collecting retro video games. Of course, that was back when retro collecting was a lot cheaper. Then there's your Nintendo 64 that you've never given up and you've had since you were a kid.
How do you know all this?
Well, I've been in your collection for quite a long time, actually. You found me at a flea market somewhere in Sydney, years and years ago. I've been observing your room for, goodness, must be well on 2 decades now.
Really? That long? Still, look at all these games everywhere. It'll take me forever to sort through this shit. And pick one to do a video on.
Then go back to basics. Do something you think would be the most fun to make a video of.
Back to basics. Spellcaster. Memories.
Right up for a bowl of stuffy spaghetti.
Every time you get hit, you fall off the fucking gas. The beads and for fuck's sake, another seizure moment. Fuck you.
Nope.
Miracle Warriors. Seal of the Dark Lord. Yeah, I've been curious about this one ever since someone suggested it, but never played it. Perhaps it's time. Yeah. Yeah. Well then. Time for a review. Hello there. Sean the Extra Guy here. We're going to be doing Miracle Warriors, Seal of the Dark Lord for the Sega Master System. Let's get right to it.
Miracle Warriors, Seal of the Dark Lord is a JRPG also known as Haja no Fuin in Japan, and it was originally released on the NEC PC-88 in 1986 and ported to the Sega Mark III a year later, and would release in the West on the Master System in 1988, and that's the version this video is about. So if you're one of the 3 people in the world that likes the original, this video only pertains to the Sega version. Anyway, Miracle Warriors is a top-down random encounter turn-based combat RPG. You know the ones. Of course, this was a very early one, and at the time this came out, there wasn't really a basis for JRPGs, especially in the West. But they were going in a certain direction. They would pretty much follow the formula that Dragon Quest popularized in Japan. Though looking at the gameplay from this game, you wouldn't think that it's in the style at first, considering the big screen here seems to convey a third-person world. And while there are things that happen on this screen, you're mostly going to be looking at this tiny little map at the top right to move through the game world. This screen here is the equivalent to moving your character to adjacent squares in any other top-down RPG. I mean, it's a rather creative setup for a game screen. Did I say creative? I meant disappointing. Because what was wrong with Dragon Quest was clearly the screen space. I mean, we could see where we were going, and the game world was just conveyed too much. This is clearly better. Alright, to be fair and to give credit where it's due, the graphics aren't bad, the screen looks really good, and with the colour palette and space available to the Master System, it really brings out the vibrance of the game world. Still, I think it would have been better just to have a traditional top-down view instead of this. In terms of a story, there's a basic outline, but nothing epic. It's no Lord of the Rings, that's for sure. Apparently long ago, some shepherd named Jason, did some stupid shit and accidentally opened a gateway, letting evil escape into the world, including an unabashedly naked Dark Lord named Tararan, who from the name clearly grew fields of flowers, healed the sick, and gave everyone 10-inch boners for all eternity. But then that fuckwit Iason did some heroic shit, sealed the evil mistress away, and restored peace and chastity to the world. He then went back to New Zealand to fuck sheep again, before prophesizing that Tararan would one day return, because he did such a shitty job of finishing off the first time. Basically, she's gonna wake up pissed and extremely horny in 1,000 years. We, the player character, are placed in the time when that evil returns, and now the world is fucked. Strange demonic creatures roam the land, so we have to gather up our strength, gather 3 companions so that we can finally defeat this evil naked bitch once and for all. So we name our player character, then it's on to adventure. Again, this screen is just pointless when it's in this map view. I mean, there's a fairy here. According to the manual, this is Ika, in charge of advancement. Don't ask me, I don't know what the fuck that means either.
The magical fairy who makes sure messages are seen by all.
Yeah, that's what we tell her so she doesn't feel bad. The fairy never factors into the game whatsoever. She doesn't even try to say, "Hey, listen!" Nope. No dialogue, she contributes fuck all to the story, and she doesn't do anything in combat. I'm sure in the original she might have had a purpose, but she hasn't got one here. Whether it's the first step you take, or it takes you 20 steps, sooner or later you're gonna have a random encounter with an enemy, and oh boy, are they some good-looking motherfuckers. What the fuck am I looking at? What is the fuck? What is this thing supposed to be? Let's check the manual. An unmutac. What the fuck is an unmutac? Looks like the aborted fetus of Barney the dinosaur after taking copious amounts of LSD, heroin, and cocaine, which I'm pretty sure you can't mix. Okay, so let's kill this thing before I have to formulate a fucking reason for its existence. When you defeat enemies, and depending on the enemy, you'll get some guilders, which is money, reputation, and fangs, which is something we'll be getting quite often from fallen enemies, although some don't drop them at all. And we can either sell them for more guilders, or keep them for a rainy day. A merchant!
What wilt thou do?
Jesus, I don't know, talk? Maybe I can buy something off him.
If thy fame decreases, thy quest will be long and weary.
Okay. Yeah, this is something you'll get on occasion. Merchants and travelers, they don't have anything to give you except worthless advice. You can't even buy things from these guys, so what's the point if they have nothing to give you at all? Well, the merchant has got something to give you, but you have to kill him for it. Anyway, let's continue exploring, encounter another unwank tank, walk around some more, and find a Gelfis. Yeah, looks like a mutant Pokemon that has suffered the severe effects of post-apocalyptic radiation. And it kills me. Well, that was a load of shit. I guess it makes sense, considering I had no health left, but really? I started with no healing items, and I don't know where to go to get health restored yet, and this creature fucks me up really bad. It's not like I left the starting area, I didn't even go too far away from the castle. I also have no weapons, apparently, so I'm punching these monsters to death while walking around in stock armor that does jack shit. And it's not like I was given anything from this useless prick of a king who I visit when I was low on health this next run, thinking maybe he could heal me or something.
Fate calls thee to bar evil's entry. Thou must seek the seal of the Dark Lord.
Oh yeah, that's the name of the game, isn't it?
The seal is guarded in the Gorkish Shrine. Quickly, find the ancient sage Kosama.
So who the fuck is Kosama? Well, it's this guy apparently, but the manual seems to think it's the merchant. I don't know how they fucked that up either. This guy is relevant, but I'll talk about him soon. Unfortunately, this run didn't go well, of course. Met a new creature though, called a Weasley Wimp. Yeah, what the fuck is Bowser's inbred cousin doing in this game? So I died to an unMacTac, whatever the hell it's called. When you die, you're sent back to the title screen and have to start a new game from there. And at the time, I didn't know how to save, but this is also where you continue your game. Anyway, why does the title screen look like the album cover of a bad 80s hair metal band? Seriously, look at this shit. So I start again, and right away, the first step I take, we encounter a normal enough enemy, which is the first time I've seen this guy. A thief. And apparently that's a thief, according to this game. It looks like a Neanderthal doing tricks with a yo-yo. For once, we get an enemy that we can actually defeat without issue. Why couldn't that be how I started? Why can't the Unfuckables be the equivalent of a slime in this game? So, anyway, I encounter yet another Gillfuck, which this time I try to retreat, thinking, it's clearly an enemy I'm not supposed to do battle with, and it kills me. Didn't even give me a chance to escape. I basically only just started this file and it already fucking died. Oh boy. New game then. Totally name my character something appropriate. This time, I'm gonna try going south. Another Gelfus. For fuck's sake, can I please retreat from this? Ah, good. Now let's just keep going south explore. What the fuck? What is your obsession with me, asshole? So I barely do any damage to it, and it nearly kills me, and so I retreat, which I should have just taken the chance to finish it off, because later on, when I was actually able to defeat one, it drops 3 fangs, which, yeah, it's fuck all, but at the very least, I could have sold them to get some guilders and then heal myself. And of course, there's a town just south of here, which I didn't know at the time. Great. And by the way, I just need to mention this. I didn't have a map with me at the time. I didn't look online for one. Basically, I just went into the game completely blind, not knowing where to go. Walking through this town, I'm sure I look like a beaten up homeless dickhead hobbling around through here. My skin's hanging off and I've got blood all over me. Some of it's probably not my own. I've not a penny to my name, nothing to heal myself or buy herbs. I don't have any fangs to sell. Nob may as well do everyone a favor and off himself after walking around here. The music's actually kind of catchy though. And speaking of which, the game's music in general ain't half bad. At least when it's played with the FM sound emulation on. The Master System doesn't have the best sound chip when compared to something like the NES, but at least the FM chip improves the soundtrack. Kind of makes it sound like Sega Mega Drive music. It's pleasant to listen to, and it's among the good things about this game. It's on the same level of Wonder Boy 3 in terms of the catchiness, as well as its obscurity. Sure, it's no iconic Dragon Quest soundtrack, but it does the job, and I'm not annoyed by it, so it's got that going for it. The townspeople are of no help whatsoever. I don't know if it's because of poor translation, or they're all mentally deficient in general. They talk in the medieval style of Middle English speech, which was the style at the time.
Knave, canst thou enter unbidden?
What do you expect? I'm looking for a fucking shop. You don't exactly have signs up in this jank-ass town. I'm looking for a doctor, you dipshit.
Our town requests 500 guilders as a simple donation.
But I didn't have any. I'm about to die, you fool. Look at me. I've walked into town with my spleen hanging out. I'm missing teeth. I have a concussion, and I've lost a lot of blood. If I had 500 gold, do you think I'd fucking give it to you?
Sorry. Please leave.
I need the donation more than you prick. When you do have some money for them, however, they are just as fucking helpful as any NPC in this game. Waste of 500 gold, really. I would at least understand if it gave you positive reputation, but it does nothing. What's the fucking point of your existence, you asshat? Shops in this game are not easily distinguishable from the useless houses. The green healer houses are the only thing that's consistent across all towns, and even when I do find a healer, I got nothing to give them, and they don't heal for free either. You can't even get healed for free by any NPC. The king doesn't fucking heal you, the wanker. Not even a random NPC in a house. If you haven't got the cash because you played the game like an idiot, you deserve to die. Alright, let's just leave this cruel world behind. There's nothing left for Nob. There will be no noble quest for him in the future. Yeah, that was shit, but that's the best pun you're getting from me on this one. A Weasley wimp! Mate, please, I'm about to die no matter what I do. Can we talk about this like civil adults?
I guess not then.
Fine. Start again, give my character a good name, back to square one. I died! Again!
Am I ever going to progress with this game, like, at all?
Let's start all over again. Let's keep going until I die in real life of cardiac arrest. Okay, so far so good, and oh, for fuck's sake. Well, we'll just try again. The annoying thing is, when you try to retreat from the enemies that you know are gonna fuck you up, you can instead fail and take a ton of damage. Thou art surrounded. Where? There's only one fucking enemy, you sack of wank. Do you know what fallback means, you dumb cunt? Now that's understandable for later in the game where enemies are more powerful and you bring it onto yourself because you decide to go to an area with powerful creatures. But this is the very fucking beginning of the game. And I'm encountering big-ass fuck you monsters in what should be an area with low-level pissy monsters that I can easily triumph over and gain XP, money, or items. That's how Dragon Quest does it from the very start. You start off fighting slimes, farming XP and gold in the area around the first town. In fact, you get a tiny bit of gold in a chest at the very beginning, which you can choose to spend wisely on a weapon and cheap armor, or you can save it and just beat up slimes with your fist. Either way, you gradually build up your fighting prowess, you rest up, and eventually getting to the point where you can take on tougher opponents. In Miracle Warriors, hey kid, here's your barren fucking wasteland of a starting area. Now go fuck off and get ass raped by the Sesame Street monster's botched clone, whose genes were spliced from the Cookie Monster's vomit and Oscar's bowel movement. These are literally my first moments of the game. This is the starting area. This is the part of the game you're introducing the players to your world, easing them into how your game mechanics work. I'm questioning whether this is the game fucking me over, or it's just severely imbalanced, or RNGesus is being a massive dick, and he's having a good fucking laugh at my misery.
This game's called Miracle Warriors? Yeah, you gotta pray for a fucking miracle if you want to get past the start of the game. Am I playing wrong? Do I just have bad luck? Or is this how the game is meant to be fucking played? Because all that happens to me, I just seem to be dying and fucking dying and fucking dying all over again, getting nowhere. I'm coming at this from the perspective of someone who has never seen anything about this game before. I'm not looking at a walkthrough. I don't know anyone who's ever played this game before. What you're seeing is my raw playthrough of something I have not had the misfortune to experience. This is my first impression of the game. Death. Constant death. Dying. I'm slowly dying. You're slowly dying. We're all slowly dying. We're all on the road to our inevitable demise. Be it in our control or someone else's, or Mother Nature herself. You know what? It doesn't matter how. It doesn't even matter what it all means in the end. Alright? It doesn't matter if we put some intrinsic meaning to our lives. It doesn't matter if there's an afterlife or not. It all ends the same way, doesn't it? You happy, game? You happy? You're giving me an existential crisis? And we're not even half an hour into this fucking thing. I don't want to do this anymore. This is what the game has done to me. I don't want to fucking do this anymore. Fuck this game. Fuck it. I don't want to fucking deal with this shit anymore.
So, my next game as Poop the Adventure Man is a little more successful. I think encountering that traveling merchant might have helped me. You know, I may have killed him, but, you know, at least I got 1,500 gold from killing him. It seems like killing merchants appears to be the extremely profitable option. I'm sure there's no consequences to this whatsoever. Of course, I discovered something that wasn't obvious, at least if I had read the manual, which, again, I don't have. You can save whenever and wherever you want, except for inside dungeons. It's one of those games that has a battery inside the cart, and it's even a bloody selling point in the back of the case. And thank fuck it's not a password system, because then we would be having to deal with that every time we fucking died.
Oh, by the way, this cartridge, the saves still work on it. It's gotta be like 30 years old by now. I am using an emulator for the footage, but I just wanted to point that out. I just think it's cool. Technology that lasts.
In order to even get anywhere in this game, you have to save scum. That means saving almost all the damn time. Don't even save every so often or when you're gonna quit. Save all the fucking time. After killing an enemy, after traveling to a place that's far away, before scratching your balls. Save, because you don't know when you're gonna encounter something that will insta-kill you or injure you really bad, even if you try to retreat from it. Either that or use the power of rewind in your emulator when you get sick and tired of saving all the goddamn time. Luckily, there is a few save spaces available, so if you utilize all of them, you can go back to an old save if you are seriously stuck somewhere with no place to go. So anyway, since I don't want to be forever known as the hero named after an unpleasant bodily function, I name my character back to Sean and just save before I get fucked over by the Satan cum babies that are this game's enemies. Well, at least now we can see what the rest of the game is like before my 75th birthday. So let's just pray we don't keep encountering Big Papa Pump, but instead another fucking merchant. Die! I will take both your life and your coin, you whelp. Oh, a muck-tuck. Die, Hellspawn! If there's another merchant, you shall be eradicated from existence, you bastard!
Be gone, fuck!
Anyway, time to talk about the problems of the turn-based combat in this game. Lord knows I've had enough experience with it now. You see, nothing is clear as to what causes a hit or a miss. It's fucking random. It amounts to a hopeful coin toss in favor of either you or the enemy you face. You can essentially have a round of combat where both you and your opponent miss completely. There's no variation of damage. There's no critical hits, critical fails, nothing. And this doesn't get any better later on when you level up or when you start getting companions. When you finally level up, you don't get anything special, you don't get new combat abilities or attack power, and certainly no magic. And don't be fooled by the name of this menu. It should be called items instead. And then you got this spell menu here. There's no fucking purpose for it. There's none. At least in combat, I don't know why it's fucking here. And all it says when you select it, what good will a spell do you now? Oh, I don't know. Maybe save my fucking ass? You fuckwit of a game? Anyway, back to about leveling up. All that happens when you get to the next level, indicated by this little XP bar here, is a health boost. That's it. You can now not die as fast. Go have a Pepsi or a Coke. Whatever the fuck. I don't fucking care. If gives a fuck about this game, fuck it. And speaking about those items, in place of those combat abilities, you've got various magical items that you can obtain from either fallen enemies or from villagers. But there are only a few items, and the items you do get just amount to either bring down the health of the enemy you're facing to a fairer level or stop them from spamming an ability or spell. You don't even get combat healing items until way later in the game, which, by the way, speaking about healing, you buy herbs from a herbalist in the village who will also heal you and your party members for a price depending on how much health needs to be healed. But when buying the fucking herbs, this wang fart has the audacity to sell them at a high price and ask,
Is 2,000 guilders too steep?
which implies that you can barter with them. Of course, my first instinct, and having never played the game before, I answer, yes, it is too steep.
Come again if needs be. Sucker.
Bitch took my money from me. What the fuck?
You can only buy 20, but you can bug it out if you have 19 herbs on you. When you buy some again, you'll get a maximum of 24. I don't know how that works. I don't know how they fucked that up. I don't know why it can't just be a maximum of, say, 99, but whatever. You'll be visiting this healer very often, let me tell you. Not only that, but always trying to figure out where the building is located in every new town you visit. I'm sure this bastard has made a mint out of me and can build a golden statue of the guilders earned from my constant reliance on their trade. So anyway, this will be part of your routine in the game, seeing as you need to heal every so often after you've killed a certain amount of enemies and they hurt you. And so the cycle begins anew of killing enemies to get guilders and fangs, leveling up, and of course you encounter merchants at this is an evil merchant apparently. Well, I mean, I thought all merchants were equally evil. Like I guess this one is evil. And he dies just like any other merchant, except we get more money off him.
Manslaughter at its finest. This time it's justified because he's a bad guy.
Sometimes a white monk will appear on your travels, although this is where I figured out that I had a negative reputation, indicated by this little number here. He's got a lot of health and his attacks are very strong. And if you got a low reputation when you try to talk to him, he will harm you.
Fool! Look at what happened! Try again!
What? I can't possibly imagine why I had negative reputation.
Merchant, fuck you!
Time to part with your coins, whelp.
So later on, when I had positive reputation and decided not to murder every single merchant or poor sod traveler that crossed my path, he is actually half useful, because he will either give you pointless advice or heal you and your companions to full health. And then sometimes you encounter an evil version of this guy every so often called a Black Monk, which I don't know why, but his sprite kind of reminds me of Tim the Enchanter from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Every time you encounter him, just retreat. Don't attempt to fight him by yourself, because he will instantly fry your ass into oblivion before you can say, by the gods. I fought him when I had 2 other companions with me, and despite almost dying trying to defeat him, this is what happens when you finally kill him.
You get nothing! You won! Good day, sir!
So, I found a village in the mountains and met Kusama, the guy the king was referring to before, and he tells us something about needing to have 3 companions to defeat Terrarin, giving us a hint as to where to find the first companion, and giving us a spell that we're supposed to use to make them realize their power, called Awaken Giant.
Yeah, I can make a dick joke here, but I'm not gonna. No.
Once you get more experience and level up your health meter, get more money, and buy better equipment, you can venture out further than the starting area and not get gang raped by a tentacle monster, which at this point, I wouldn't put it past this game to spawn as an enemy. Yeah, I meant that as a joke. I didn't actually want that to be something I have to kill. Something I should mention because this is relevant to my next talking point. Depending on the tile you're traveling over, the enemies you face will often change. Now this is pretty much standard in a lot of RPGs with random encounter combat. Of course, the enemies will end up being different, often harder, in tiles that aren't the standard brown dirt tile. And of course, you still encounter shit that looks like it came from a bootleg Digimon game, such as this beautiful specimen. I swear to God, looks like the troll face if you paint it green. It's also called a beastie.
Hello, beastie.
But some of them are normal looking, I guess, like this one. It's called a YBE? Ebe? EB? It fucking killed me, of course. Fuck this, I'm getting my revenge. Cop that one, you fucker. Hope you like my nut, you slithering asshole.
I'm fighting a snake with my nut. The fuck has my life come to?
Oh, I mentioned the nut. This needs context. So you've got this enemy that looks like an incomplete elephant, probably named Liphant. Actually, upon closer inspection, and I really wish I didn't give it a fucking closer inspection now, it kind of looks like a cock and balls with legs. It's even got an entry in the manual.
If you brave the dark woods of Arukas to hunt this powerful creature,
Few will consider you nuts.
What? I'm sorry, what?
Okay, look, it drops a magical item called a sacred nut. And I'm not kidding, that's what it's called. From a creature that looks like a blue scrotum with a flaccid noodle dick nose. You know, I wish I could say I made this all up, but someone thought this was a good idea to put in a fancy RPG game. And guess what? You can nut on your enemies. I mean, you can throw your nut on your enemies. Okay, they both sound just as bad. Bringing certain powerful enemies and bosses to an equal footing. You can only carry 8 of them, or 9, or maybe it's 11. I don't know. I only got about 7 until I gave up because they're fucking annoying to farm. Trying to encounter them in battle is maddening enough, since you have to run circles around forest tiles for the off chance you'll meet these things, and not the several other pieces of weight you'll probably battle instead. And even when you do finally meet the half-elephant son of a bitch, sometimes these dickheads don't drop their nuts when defeated. You know, I'm sorry about all the dick and ball jokes, but this game has handed me a silver platter. I can't resist. So if you finally do get enough, they are very valuable to you, so you should only use them for enemies that are worth it. In other words, don't waste them on the filthy merchant bastards! I think I'm just turning into a bandit now. You know, I wonder how much money the Traveler's got on them. Oh, basically fuck all.
Now I'm just starting to feel bad. You know, at least before I could justify it with the merchants somewhat. These fuckers are probably just on their Sunday walk, whatever, you know. Here I come along to embed an axe into their skull, just to take their coin purse. You know, I'm beginning to see the errors of my ways. What? Alright. The last one.
So anyway, upon getting equipment and using said equipment simply by going into battle, you do start to realise that it degrades over time, but it can be repaired by a blacksmith for a fee of guilders. However, a smart investment in the game is to hire a travelling blacksmith, which will go with you wherever you travel, and he can be found in a town called Auric. But he introduces himself like this.
This is a smithy. I had a problem with the master. I was fired. For 12,000 guilders, I'll go with thee.
Mate, you are clearly inebriated. Now, funnily enough, I actually had the money to hire him, but still, you had issues with the master, you got dismissed, and now you want me to pay you? What the fuck, dude? So anyway, wondering where I'm meant to go, because I've spent an hour beating the shit out of Cthulhu's drinking buddies, I delve into this dungeon hoping to find a way to progress through this godforsaken game, and because I got a special mask, which I bought from a shop, it allows me to see in this dungeon. And of course, the deluge of fucked up enemies continue with this.
It looks like... It really does look like the aborted demon fetus of a love child between a Charmander, Bulbasaur, and a Squirtle, right? 3 different DNA groups, all to create a gene splice abomination of all 3 Gen 1 starter Pokemon. You can't tell me that's not what it looks like!
You've also got an Orin. I don't fucking know anymore. You'll encounter a lot of this shit in the dungeon, including a cavern mantis, which is about the only normal looking enemy that I've encountered so far. You go through this dungeon, exploring all around this dank and hostile place. You might find some treasure, but you don't get much. You get a helmet, which is only usable for this dungeon. It allows you to read the writing on the wall here. Help thy friends with the Aeson's arms. What the fuck does that even mean? How is it supposed to help me? And that's pretty much it for the first dungeon you'll probably go through. You don't get a magical sword or anything useful for that matter, other than the guilders and fangs you get from fighting monsters. Eventually, you get to the point where you won't know what to do or where to go next. Sure, you can now obliterate the enemies that once posed a threat to you, but what exactly can you do other than walk around in circles around the entire continent? The game suffers from the same thing a lot of old games of this type suffer from, and that's basically the game requiring you to have a degree in archaeology to even begin to progress through it. You can travel all around the map accessible to you. You can go into a dungeon and defeat as many Muppet Hellspawn as you want, but unless you have a clear idea where you gotta go to progress through the game, you'll be spending hours trying to figure it all out. You pretty much need a walkthrough because there's a lot of shit in this game that you have to either be fucking delusional or clairvoyant thinking any of this would work. Take for instance the fangs that you get for defeating creatures. At first I was selling them thinking that's what they were for, so you could buy equipment, healing, herbs, repair your weapons. Then I encounter this king in a castle in the forest and he wants fangs. Okay, how many? I come back with 100. Not enough. Come back when I have 200? Still not enough. Well, fuck you. I'll sell the fuckers to get a profit instead. At least he appreciates them and gives me something for them. And oh boy, I shouldn't have done that. Because upon looking at a walkthrough, he requires 300. And not only that, but it's also required to recruit the first companion. Let's farm for more fucking fangs then. And when you do finally give this guy 300 fangs, he gives you the Iris Axe.
I honestly do try to play games without walkthroughs. But sometimes I might get stuck at a certain part, and usually it's a part that only I alone can get stuck at, but, you know, I'll just look at a walkthrough for that one specific part, don't need the walkthrough anymore. I can get through the rest of the game fine. And there are many RPGs that I don't need a walkthrough for, but sometimes when you have a game that's so damn convoluted with absolutely no indication of what you're supposed to be doing, and it's just taking longer than what it reasonably should to do something, that's when I look at a walkthrough. You really do need a walkthrough if you want to complete this game without dying of a fucking brain hemorrhage over the big thing you're going to be doing without one.
And of course, this game also suffers from what a lot of turn-based RPGs have resorted to: grinding. Whether it's for experience points, fangs, or other items dropped by enemies. Because if your game needs to pad itself out to justify its pathetic existence, just take the player on a journey to very slowly gain levels and farm items. Now, this isn't inherently bad. It doesn't have to be, as long as the journey to get that XP or items is fun and it has a payoff that's worth it. The trouble is, it feels tedious, especially when all you want to do is grind for items like fangs or nuts, and the shitty enemies sometimes don't drop anything. And in the case of the elephants and their nuts, it's completely random as to whether or not you get a nut after killing one.
I spent 2 hours. 2 hours of my life gone because I didn't know where the fuck I was going. And that's my limit, right? That's my limit before I need a walkthrough. This fucking game. Yeah. I need to go outside. Or something. I don't know. I can't abandon this game, though. I don't want to abandon this review, either. I don't want to break it up into 2 parts. It's a stupid idea.
Except I am. Hello there, Sean the Extra Guy here. Thank you very much for watching. Part 2 will be up shortly. Wait,
hang
what
on,
are you doing?
I don't know. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Just have a look at the bloody video. The length of it, for Pete's sake. My point still stands. I need something to break up the monotony of all this.
You own that Master Gear converter, don't you? Well, you can take the game with you anywhere.
You know, I just need some fresh air or something. You know, I don't know, maybe I should take the game with me by using the Master Gear converter and the Game Gear. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Oi, that's what I said.
Okay, let's get Sonic the Hedgehog out like that, and then put Miracle Warriors in like so, and... Die, scum! On to adventure.
Right, so now that I've got some indication of what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm not running around like a headless chicken about the place, I have to find another companion to join me, so I have another party member to rely on in battle. So we go to the town of Cadia, where apparently they honour the god of the sea, so either Poseidon or Neptune, pick one, and in the herbalist's hut, you can cast the spell called Awake Giant, and surprise! I am a guy! You certainly are, I wasn't assuming otherwise. Oh wait, that's his name. His name is Guy. The fuck? I am Guy. I have waited long for thee. Here is one portion of the ancient scroll. Complete the scroll and the location of the seal of the Dark Lord will be clear. Let us search for our second companion. She is said to be in a town to the far south. Wow, that was a fucking mouthful. So yeah, we now got another party member, and we know the basic location of the next one. And now that we've got a companion, what exactly does this mean? Do we get to attack enemies twice? No. Do we get special abilities or attacks from him? No. Well, okay, does he do anything to contribute outside of combat? No. So what does he do exactly? Well, he can attack enemies and get hit instead of you.
So, having this companion in your party just means you got one health. Yeah, that's it. What's the fucking point of that, eh? You couldn't spare some sort of speciality for this character? You couldn't have made him a mage, a rogue, an archer, a cleric even? Yeah, I would have taken a fucking bard, okay? I would have taken a bard. That's how desperate I am. That's how desperate I am to have this game at least a little bit bearable for me.
He starts out a level below you, of course, which is annoying enough when you now have to level this wanker up as well as yourself. Which, by the way, something I didn't mention before, but you gain XP not by defeating something at the end of a battle, you gain it by attacking the enemies. Either way, it means you have to attack enemies just with one party member if you want to get them the experience, to get more health and not be complete and utter shite. Oh, and yeah, it gets much worse when you find the other party members, let me tell you. Having to level up 4 companions later on in the game with no shared XP fucking sucks. It's bad enough trying to grind for myself, let alone adding another fucker or 2 or 3 to the mix. It adds days to the game, I'm sure of it. I have the luxury of fast forward and it still takes fucking forever. I'd be an old man on dialysis if I were to finish this game at its normal speed. It's not fun having to grind multiple party members at once. It's time consuming and mind numbing. That's not a game, it's a fucking chore. And you're supposed to play games after doing chores or as a means to delay them. So what exactly is the point of having companions in the first place? There are certainly no classes for them. They're all as equally useless as you are, except one of them for some reason does seem to do a crushing attack every now and again, which I guess counts as a critical hit, but why just the one character? Oh, and don't let your party member die, because you may as well load your previous save. Otherwise, it's 30,000 guilders just to resurrect them at a specific village. And need I remind you of the fact that it takes a long fucking time to get that amount of money, even with fast forwarding. Now, you can manage your party's health if you fight strategically, of course, and they can be healed just as you can. As long as you know how much damage a specific enemy deals when it hits, you can predict when it's time to stop attacking with that character, unless you actually want to risk it, that is. Right, I think I gave myself a hernia talking about all that, so let's just continue from before the rant. So now that we've got our new party members, guess what time it is? Lunch? No! It's time to grind with the son of a bitch for an hour. That means tediously search for guilders and fangs and level up guys so that he's powerful enough to not be a complete puss bag, getting his sword from a king for 300 fangs. Try to upgrade it at the blacksmith village because you've got a better reputation now, but be rejected because they still don't like that you are moisturizing the local merchant population. And then forget to fucking save after being done for that session because you've been exploiting the rewind feature in the emulator to save on time, and you're a dickhead who thought he saved before ending that recording, so you close down the emulator and the next time you play you realize all you did was worthless and you wasted an hour of your life. Oh boy, gotta do it all over again. But once you've done that, we gotta get the Armor of Kronos, which apparently is important because it allows us to recruit the next companion. So we go to a cave to the north and fight Senpai, I mean Senpai. Fuck it, I'm calling it Senpai because it's funnier. So our Senpai is a boss. There's no dungeon to delve through, which is kind of disappointing. Pretty much as soon as you go inside this cave, Senpai is ready. This Senpai notices you straight away. And boy, does this Senpai have a lot of endurance. Because he basically has more health than the piss weak damage that you can dish out before yourself and Guy drop dead. And this bastard has a flame spell attack which harms both of us, which makes our deaths extra quick. And I fought this fucker without nuts at first, because this is the point in the game I realized I had to farm for nuts if I want to beat certain monsters. I went around in circles in the forest biomes where I knew I would get liffins to spawn. At least more than the mounds of walking shit. It's probably some sort of mud slime, but it's called heap, okay? It's called a heap. A heap of what? Heap of shit. Are you happy? I just made a shit joke. I don't normally make shit jokes. This is diarrhea. Sentient diarrhea. And, yeah, whatever this alien fleshlight looking thing is. And it's just staring at your soul. And wants to suck it out through your cock. Either way, I had to grind, killing the weaker enemies and running away when I knew the enemies could nearly one-hit me, or were time wasters.
Of course, you could always carry around a remote control with you, so you can rewind out of those pesky little deaths, so you don't have to annoyingly load your save yet again. Believe me, I went for a while without resorting to using the rewind feature in the emulator. But look, I've only got one life on this planet. I don't want to spend it playing this game.
This is also where I started to realize just how scummy some of the enemies can be, because they can put me to sleep. I don't mean put me to sleep as in this game's fucking boring, I'm falling asleep. No. To put the cherry on top of the turd mud cake, some of the enemies have sleep magic, and they cast it randomly. Now, this wouldn't be so bad if you had a way to combat it with potions or magical barriers, but you don't get any of that. Well, you can get something called a Stone of Protection, which stops these attacks completely, as well as the area attacks some enemies, including Senpai does. But they're located in a town far away, cost 50 fangs a pop, and you can only carry 6 at a time. Oh, and speaking of which, sometimes they fail, as in they run on the same random roll as normal attacks. If it doesn't work, you wasted one. Now you gotta waste the next one, and then have another coin flip of success or fail again. Anyway, finally, when I got back to Senpai, I nutted on him furiously. And when Senpai dies, he leaves me the armor of Kronos, which is the best armor in the game for me. Oh, goody goody gumdrops. Now it's time to go fight a skeleton. And holy shit, he really deals damage out like a motherfucker. Don't mess with Mr. Duta here. Guy, because of the sword, does the most damage to him with his attacks, and you can probably gather nuts to throw at him so you don't lose a ton of health to him. But honestly, you can just brute force him after making sure to save before facing him, of course, and just make sure you brought herbs with you so you can heal, unless you want to trek back to town. Then it's time to buy a boat in a village just south of here, and it's not as exciting as you think. This isn't Sea of Thieves or Wind Waker we're talking here. Nope, pretty much it's a means to travel over the sea tile, for now at least, until we upgrade, and the only way we can tell sea and ocean apart is the slight color difference, and apparently the ocean is stormy. But pretty much, you will encounter new types of enemies that are just as fucked up as the ones on land, such as a Dagon. Dagon. Either way, looks like a chameleon fucked a dwarf, and this was the result of the unholy mating union. You also got a Kyorsen, aka blue ball snake turtle, which sounds like a goddamn Yu-Gi-Oh card, and a Mesmer. Wait, hang on a minute, isn't that the fish from Subnautica that when you look at it, uses telepathy to compel you to swim towards it? Well, this Mesmer has something I am definitely going to look at, and head straight in between. And motorboat. So we get to a town, try to find where the healer is located, and
Take me with you? I'll only hinder you.
What? Mate, I didn't ask you. The hell are you on about?
whatever, we find what we came here for, then we gotta find a village where we can buy a staff of earthquakes for 10,000 guilders, but for some fucking reason, even though I clearly have enough money to give this son of a bitch, he fucking outright refuses, and kindly asks me to depart. I don't know why. It could have something with me not having enough reputation, but for now at least, we ain't getting a staff of earthquakes, which by the way is slightly more powerful than the sacred nuts when you choose to use one. So anyway, we continue on our way to get the next companion, but of course, we encounter new enemies, such as a two-headed dragon thing, which is the most normal looking enemy I've encountered in a while. But then there's this, which I'm burnt out on words describing these things. A fucked up Monsters Inc. character that got fucked in the face by a gremlin, and another enemy which looks like a fat neckbeard otaku wearing glasses, cosplaying with white anime hair. It wouldn't be out of place at a comic convention. There's also a monster that looks like a snake, had spaghetti thrown over its face, named No Gooda. Yeah, you got that right. You know, I'm starting to get numb to the shock of the appearance of these enemies, and now I just accept it. Anyway, it's a good idea to grind Guy a little more to the next level, so that when we recruit the next companion, she'll be a decent level. And the next companion is Medi, and I guess she's a dancer at this house. We use Awakened Giant, and she turns into an armor-wearing warrior maiden, giving us a portion of her scroll and telling us where the next companion could be. We now have 3 companions to venture with us and save the world, and face more fucked up creatures of the Eldritch Abyss. And we can also access all the dungeons according to the walkthrough, since Medi can apparently pick the locks. We now need to get Medi her legendary gear, and luckily her sword is relatively nearby at a castle where the king has it, but the rest of her stuff is elsewhere far away. And of course, we need to grind for some nuts again, because I haven't done that nearly enough already. And then we can delve through a dungeon or two, and what the fuck is that? What is a baroon? Seriously, I don't know. I don't know anymore.
Look at it! Look at it! Look at it! Look at it! I want all of you to look at it!
So we retrieve bits and bobs for our companions, including a crystal that makes seeing the map of the dungeon tiles easier. We also fight a few more senpais to get the rest of the equipment for everyone. There's also a new boss we encounter called a Hanji, which uses the same bullshit as senpai, except they have more health and do tons more damage, which led me, at some point, deciding to go back to the village where I could buy a staff of earthquakes because I got sick of collecting fucking nuts constantly, and all of a sudden, I can now buy them! Which is good, but when I went back there later on to stock up, the fuckers refused again. Why? What do you want from me? What am I doing wrong, you shit pushers? Oh, and apparently, some enemies you defeat give you negative reputation. What the fuck is that supposed to be about? Oh, and by the way, I didn't mention it before, but don't go into the desert, especially earlier on, because the enemies here fuck you up. And they are, of course, just as fucked up themselves, but we already went through that.
Just wait until later on. You have no reason to be there. There's nothing worthwhile in the desert anyway. At least not until you get the next companion, which... You know, speaking about deserts, how'd I end up in one?
Once you got all the junk you need after exploring half the bloody world, it's now time to recruit the final party member. He can be found in a tiny island cave on the east of the map, which Medi's nimble fingers open the lock on it apparently. And, mate, I don't want to alarm you, but your cock's hanging out. Of course, the only action we have is to cast the Awake Giant spell on him, and he turns into Aquaman wearing Superman's cape and Wonder Woman's skirt. Treo is his name, and he gives us the final part of the Scroll of Iason. We can also get all of his gear from a dungeon nearby, but first, let's have a look at this new scroll command.
Hearken, come Jason.
Jason!
I mean Iason. For 8 days from Saria.
It's Saria? The fuck's she doing in this game?
8 days from Saria. Call spring sweetness. 8 days. Face not dawn. Journey north 5 days. West 3 days to Dokia. View the sacred shrine. Yea, the gates below are for fools. Hell's gates.
I don't know what the fuck any of that meant, but it looks like directions. And I suppose we'll follow them soon, but first we need to go to the shrine so we can get all Treo's equipment from the dungeon there. After that, we've got 2 more pieces of equipment to get from Medi and Guy, and they're both shields guarded by Hanji. And finally, it's after all that, we can now travel to the village in the northwest of the map, past the desert, to get the upgraded ship for free, so that we can travel across the stormy ocean waters, which, by the way, has enemies like the Sea Dragon, that drops something called a resurrection potion, which is not what you expect it to be. It doesn't bring party members back to life, it just heals them in combat. Why not call it a healing potion? And why the fuck can't the herbalists make these? No, scratch that. Why can't I use herbs in the middle of combat, yet I need these fucking things instead? Not only is it tied to this one fucking enemy that is hard enough to kill as it is, on top of that you can only carry 3 of the motherfucking things. And if you got this item without knowing what it actually did, you would assume its purpose isn't to heal a party member during combat, but hey, now you get to heal someone during battle, so I guess that's the toilet at the end of the shit rainbow. So, we're now on what could be considered the final island. And of course, the walkthrough tells me I can get a white sphere from this village here, but guess what?
There can be no discussion. Repent!
Repent for what? What are you, a fucking overzealous priest? Give me the white sphere, you shit! So yeah, he don't want to part with it because we are sinful pieces of shit saving the world from evil. Yeah, okay, Rasputin. Oh, and the white sphere, by the way, is apparently even more powerful than the Staff of Earthquakes. But you can only carry 1, and they cost 1,000 fangs. Pretty much, it's a use this on the final boss kind of item. So I guess we don't need it just yet. Now that we're actually where we're meant to be to finally end this shit wank of a game, we need to have another look at the scroll. And yes, it refers to directions we have to take to reach where Tararan is. But of course, it's all very confusing. Sure, you can gather meaning to some of it. Days means steps you take through each square. You might even discern that face not dawn means to go west. But where the hell is Saria and what the hell is spring sweetness? Well, apparently Saria was the name of this village here. Of course, it's named Tajea now. And unless we listened to nonsense advice given to us by some random NPC, we wouldn't have known that the town that Medi came from was called Saria. And apparently, she's from Tajea. And the spring sweetness thing is referring to wind that blows south.
When the hell was I supposed to listen to the NPCs in this game? They gave me little to no reason at all to heed anything of what they were saying. Even when I paid the town elders money, donated money, they still had useless information to give me. I mean, none of it made sense. None of it made sense, and even if there was something that made sense, it was soon forgotten by the dumbass dialogue in this game.
So, once you've worked that out, or just read off the internet, which didn't exist when this game came out, you go to the town, look at the directions in the scroll, and follow them. And it's actually quite easy because they're all marked by shrines along the way. Eventually, you will get to the destination the scroll is referring to, where you will face off against, oh for fuck's sake, Abyssals, apparently. You know, if I didn't already make the Mike Wazowski aborted fetus joke in Spellcaster, I would have made it here. I guess this is the result if the fetus actually survived. You can also completely avoid a challenge and just hit him with 2 earthquake staffs, a nut, and just hit him once, which I decided to rewind and at least give him a fair fight. Anyway, about the worst this fucking can do to you is put you to sleep again, and I mean that in the context of the game. Once you kill the fucker by whatever means, he drops a small box, and upon opening it we are called fools, because the seal of the Dark Lord isn't here, and we are injured by this statement.
Thou hast badly injured the Black Monk and his retainer.
Which, by the way, has nothing to do with this enemy you just faced, or anything to do with a Black Monk. At first, I thought it was a badly translated way of saying I had injured Tararan or something, but no, it's even worse than that. So, my traveling blacksmith friend was missing, and I didn't discover this until about 30 minutes later when I just happened to be at the same village where you hire them, and, well, for some reason I could hire him again. So, I was thinking, when the hell did he go missing? How long has he been missing? Was it a glitch? Was it something that was meant to happen? I only found out while writing this review that this line after I'd killed the Mike Wazowski abomination meant that the blacksmith had perished. How can you fuck this up so badly? This is beyond making a few grammatical errors. This is referring to something completely unrelated. I'm baffled over the absurdity of this.
So, now they did all that riddle hunting bullshit and killed the walking eyeball tentacle monstrosity thing, What are we supposed to do now? Well, if we look at the scroll, that's where we're meant to be, right? But that clearly wasn't Tararan, and, well, nothing has happened since we killed the fucking thing. What are we supposed to do? Ah, but you see, we missed a very, very important little bit of information. You see...
What the fuck are you doing here?
Arr, this be unexpected.
Well, this is awkward.
So how did you guys end up in the desert?
I'd be asking the same thing, but I think a bit of luck and fate might have brought you to us.
Or the same stupidity that the plastic spaceman dipshit has.
I'm telling you, there is a taco stand somewhere around here.
Now we gotta get home. Yeah, I gotta wrap this video up. Been on it for well on 8 months now.
Lol.
Review?
Arr, but wait, aren't you gonna find a dungeon or something to go through?
I don't have the time or budget for it, really.
How the hell are we getting home then, dickhead?
I will fly us out. I just have to find some nachos first.
Maybe I can try to contact a desert spirit to sail us out of here.
I got something better than flying or eldritch magic. Teleportation! And laziness! With a Game Boy. Home sweet home.
Master Sean, welcome back.
When did we get a pig butler?
Oh, fuck, not another one. And this one comes from my own fucking game, too. This is your damn fault. Ever since you showed up, these fuckers keep popping up and talking.
Don't blame me for your problems, bucko.
Yeah, we'll explain why the spaceman action retard appeared just as...
Well, they sort themselves out. Let's just,
What the fuck is going on?
get on with the review, shall we?
I'm just going to sum up what you got to do. I'm condensing what is probably about 30 or so minutes of gameplay, but essentially, there's another line that has apparently been said by an NPC, which refers to Ieson being twice as fast as a normal man, which means we have to double the amount of squares we travel to when referring to the scroll. And at least it's easy with the first one, because it's located within the mountains, but having to count the amount of squares you've walked in the desert with this much screen space is a fucking hassle. So just watch this screen and count the amount of times the pixels move. At every point where the scroll changes direction is a catacomb that contains an elemental key of some kind, and there are 3 of these which are needed to access the final dungeon. The key of heaven, the key of earth, and the key of fire. Each is guarded by a boss. Rockhod, Sehod, and Ohod, which are all the same sprite, just different colours. And finally, once you've done all that, it's time to go through the final dungeon, the last stretch of the game. And apparently the walkthrough suggests that I should get everyone's level up to max, or at least the life bars to where Treo stands.
Yeah, I ain't fucking doing that.
So I'm going to go with the next best option, and that's grinding for items. Fuck, I still have to grind either way, it seems, but this is at least more tolerable. Alright, so I think we've at least got enough. We're not at a high level, but I think we can take this bitch on with what we got. And by the way, this dungeon is even more of a maze than the others, and has staircases to boot that will take you to dungeons you've already visited, and will teleport you halfway across the map if you choose the wrong one. Awesome. Luckily, I had a rewind to get me out of that bullshit. But anyway, once you trudge through the monsters and descend your way to the depths of fucked up creature hell, you eventually get to...
Oh my god!
Tits! 8-bit tiddly-winkies! Lovely jubbly wumbo-jumbos! Magnificent, malevolent milkies! Goddamn mother-humping Boba Fetts! A pair of retrograde, pixelated boobies! Just on display for our viewing pleasure. This is what the game was building up to. All the grinding and absolute fuckery we had to go through all comes down to the moment we actually get to face Tararan, and the only thing I can focus on is her knockers. I don't care if the world gets destroyed, as long as we have to have a show while it's happening. And boy, is she certainly not a pushover. She will completely annihilate you if you're not careful, or you get some shitty RNG numbers and miss a lot of your hits. I threw everything I had at her, and apparently, I only had 2 staff of earthquakes, and only so much nut that I could throw at her. Even the white sphere didn't do a lot of damage, so I had to rely on the stones of protection so she wouldn't do her area attack and just hope for the best, which didn't go so well since me and my companions died after nearly defeating her, so I rewinded as far as I could and tried to just weasel my way to killing her. I just lost all interest in playing the game normally, and having to restart from the beginning of the dungeon wasn't exactly a desire I had. But as my companions died one by one, and Medi doing her final crushing attack before her demise, I then slew Tararan with one more slash of my axe. I had finally saved the world, and thus started the end sequence. I then reflected on my adventures, the weird-ass NPCs I had met, the fucked-up monsters I slew, the companions I had just lost that devilish wench as their portraits appeared looking like disciples of Jesus. It was finally the end.
Let me be perfectly clear here. This game was not worth completing, okay? I didn't have to complete it, but I did, right? And, you know, I gave it its due process, which kind of sounds like I'm putting it on trial. Look, the point is, I could have spent all the time that was spent grinding and doing all that shit, which is 75% of this fucking game. I could have spent that time completing other games, right? But I didn't even expect it to take that long, right? I didn't expect the grinding to take that long. I didn't expect to, like, having to run around the fucking continent trying to, like, figure out what to do, you know? Of course, I used a walkthrough for a lot of it, you know? And even then it took a long time. Look, here's the thing. I gave this game a fair chance, right? Like I do with every game, right? And it's just unfortunate that I've come to this conclusion.
It's unfortunate that I have to say this about a Master System RPG game, considering there aren't many to begin with, but once this game's charm wears off after about the first couple of hours of grinding, this game has a lot of repeated patterns and too much reliance on filler gameplay, with not much else to break up the monotony. It seems all I was doing was mostly grinding either to advance my level and my companions, or to collect copious amounts of items and sacred nuts because they at least had some use when it came to chopping the enemy's health to size, all the while dealing with the jank-ass turn-based battles. Coupled with some of the enemies that just completely mess you up if you so much as get a bad coin toss of failure if you try fighting, fleeing, or using an item on them. Oh, now let's not forget how sexy every single monster in this game is. Now, I'll admit, it's not all horrible, at least if you get past all the things I just mentioned. And hey, eventually I was able to save and I started getting better. I kinda enjoyed it. I still got annoyed at the turn-based battles, but I started seeing it as just another JRPG with potential to be good. The music was not unpleasant to listen to either. Nothing amazing, but it's not like I wanted to plug my ears or mute the sound. You've also got the whole adventuring around a fantasy world and exploring what it has to offer. I wish I had the map when I first started the game because that's another thing that adds to the experience. And I guess what it boils down to is having that level of immersion in a game that sparks your imagination to come up with your own story. Looking at it from the perspective of someone who has played a decent amount of modern and retro RPG games, you really start to see Miracle Warriors pales in comparison, especially RPGs from the time this game came out. I wasn't alive when this game came out, but for those who were, there had to have been better options out there. Overall, this game just really speaks volumes of the time it was created. There wasn't really a set-in-stone standard for turn-based combat RPG games at the time. There are many examples, of course, but Dragon Quest set in motion what became of most JRPGs at the time. But everyone was trying something new to add to the formula of the whole fantasy adventure dungeon crawling genre. Miracle Warriors, while it does have the style, it doesn't have the same substance of the games surrounding it. Even a year after this game came out, Phantasy Star would become recognized as the main go-to JRPG on Sega, and this game would fall right off the cart and into the world of obscurity. Maybe I'm coming at this from the perspective of a modern gamer, you might say, but I can say without a doubt that the first Dragon Quest is a far better experience in this game. And Dragon Quest came out in the Famicom before this did in the PC-88. Hell, Dragon Quest 2 was out when this game was ported to the Sega Mark III in Japan. By the time this came out in the West in 1988, the JRPG boom was in full force, and pretty soon the West would see the likes of Final Fantasy, Dragon Warrior, Phantasy Star, and many, many more. Not to mention the other RPG games that are already known at the time. And so, with everything I said that was positive, has been overshadowed by that and all the other bullshit I found in this game, such as the repeated grinding you have to do to get items and level up, the unsatisfying heads or tails combat, the batshit insane enemy designs that came from an acid trip during New Year's Eve 1985, the rather barren game world that you only really get a glimpse at through the same repeated screens and the minimap, the boring and pointless dialogue from poorly translated NPCs, and also just the feeling of not knowing where the fuck to go without a walkthrough. Miracle Warriors is, and I'm disappointed to say, not worth revisiting. And it wasn't worth completing, let me tell you. Except for the tits. I suppose they are always nice.
You know, I basically shut on this game this entire video, and I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry to the people who regard this as one of their favorites while growing up. I really am sorry. You probably have nostalgia for it, and all well and good. Hell, there's stuff I have nostalgia for that probably other people hate as well. But, I'm always sorry that I have to say this about a game, I always hope for the best, right? I always hope for the best. I always give hope for, to find good in a bad or unheard of game, but, this is It's not, okay, look, to be fair, it's not horrible, okay? It is far from the first game I would recommend that you play, especially on the Master System, and especially a JRPG, right? But, having said that, this is okay for what it is, right? For what it is, it's a fascinating experience. Painful, yes, in some regards, but fascinating. Just look at all the monsters in this game alone, right? Nightmare-inducing, right? You get it, okay? But here's the thing, it's also a historical game. This was the first JRPG console game in the West. Way before all the others, way before all the good ones. You know, but hey, maybe that's enough for you. Maybe that's enough for you to check it out, right? And hey, if you got an emulator, and you got save states or rewinds and fast forwards, you can't do any worse. I mean, you probably could. Look, there's probably worse games out there. But look, the point is, it's okay, alright? So yeah, it may have been the first in the West. It's certainly not the best in the West. And Lord knows I feel sorry for all the people who grew up with it not having the superpowers of rewind and fast forward that, like I did when I played it. Oh god. Even with all those superpowers, yeah, I know your pain. Trust me, I know your pain. But what's done is done, eh? That's the end of the video. That's the end. I've got nothing else to say about the game. Other than thank you for watching this video. And, you know, I'm sorry it went on for so long. I hope you enjoyed it, nonetheless. I hope you made it to this far. I just had a lot to say about this game, and I guess I'm also sorry for it taking so long to come out. I didn't expect it to take this long, but it did. I'll try not to make this happen again. I do apologize. But, like I said, what's done is done. This video is done. So, thank you very much for watching. But, as always, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what time it is, stay safe and have a nice day. Right. I think we'll do a stream, eh? Yeah. You know what? Let's play some good old Xbox, original Xbox. In fact, let's play some Dead or Alive Extreme. Shit, hang on. I've still got to write the Toy Story 2 review.
Yeah, the best game in the world starring me.
And, yeah, I've still got to do part 2 of, Revenge of the Flying Dutchman.
Aye, that's right. What are you doing, you little halfwit? Want to be free from this prison?
Well, what a cunt.
Hello there, Sean the Ashtray here. Welcome to the outro screen. Thank you for watching, and thank you very much for making it this far. You are, without a doubt, absolutely awesome, and you can be even more awesome if you check out my Twitch channel below, because that's what I've been doing for the past year or so. Yeah, I got really distracted with streaming and let my YouTube sort of waddle in stagnation with my VOD uploads being the main content, so I'm really sorry about that. I've got a better schedule now, so I'm able to both stream and work on videos like this one. I do update my schedule regularly on my Discord, which, by the way, if you are interested in joining, you are more than welcome anytime to hang out, post memes and old YouTube poops or whatever it is you fancy. So please, if you like my content, I would love to have you there to grow our antique meme kingdom. And yes, that's what I called it. Also, a warm welcome to all the new subscribers I've gained for the past year and a half now. Thanks to all of you. You are growing this channel, and you know who you are. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you very much. Anyway, with the stuff I mentioned before, just follow the links down below. I'll see you there. But more importantly, thanks again. And as is my catchphrase now, no matter where you are in the world, no matter what time it is, as always, stay safe and have a nice day.